Welcome to the KellFire Show. I am Dr. Kelly Barron, and today I have very, very excited about this guest, Catherine Auman. And I have to read off your bio because it's very impressive and I couldn't memorize it all. So Catherine is a licensed marriage and family therapist based in Los Angeles. With over 30 years of experience in the field of mental health, she has helped thousands of clients. Auman's approach, Miss Catherine, to therapy is holistic, addressing physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and relationship issues. She combines mainstream psychotherapy with alternative ways of knowing and healing, including psychedelics. That really intrigued me, and tantric practices. Catherine is also a multi-award-winning author. This I thought was so cool, of 12 books, and has appeared as a mental health expert on national TV shows. She offers individual consultation, workshops, and coaching for therapists, mental health professionals, and individuals seeking personal healing and spiritual advancement. So welcome, Catherine. That's an exciting bio you've got going there.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm so happy to be here.
So is there anything that I left off in your bio that you would like listeners to know?
Yes, I moved to a new house and it has a pool, a little pond, and I'm now a turtle mom.
Oh, I love that.
I
I
have
love
6
that.
turtles all of a sudden.
I love that. So I want to start off by asking you, how did you start getting into Tantra? What first drew it to you? And why you decided to integrate that into your practice?
Sure. I was in a bookstore in Venice, California, it's still there, called Small World of Books. And there was a book on the table that said, Sex is Spiritual. And I went, it was one of those life-defining moments. I'd never heard that before. And of course, growing up in this culture, I had learned the opposites.
Mhm.
And that just rang so true for me, that there was something going on with sex that we're not being taught. Something deep, something earth-shaking, something profound. And that was a little bit different than getting off. And so I started searching. There wasn't a lot of information on it back then. And I just started a lifetime search of what's really going on here that we're not being taught.
I agree, and I would have had that light bulb moment too. From the same generation as you, we were not. We were just. It was. I don't want to say it was a function, but it was very performative. You had sex.
Perform.
Yep. You may or may not have had children, but the 9 times out of 10, that might have been the end game. And spirituality and sex never went hand in hand. It just not when we were growing up.
Not when we were growing up. So, thankfully, it seems to be spreading a bit now. So I learned, I've just started reading the few books that were around back then and going to a few seminars and so on and learning. And my journey took me to live in a tantra ashram in India for a year, which
Whoa.
most people think, oh my God, that sounds like a year-long orgy. I was like,
Right, exactly. And what do they do there?
but not at all. Well, first of all, we were meditating every day, and we were also getting together in groups of men and women and talking about our fears about the opposite sex, the same sex, learning how to be. I hope this doesn't shock people too much, but we'd just be naked, just so
No.
we could get used to being naked ourselves and seeing what other people look like, that nobody looks like a fashion model. If they do, they're kind of a freak, because
Right.
everybody else just looks like a human being. Everybody's got cellulite or whatever. And we just learned to become much more natural and much more curious and inquisitive about our sexuality. And another thing that was very important there was men and women, and of course, same-sex people, were also trying to create friendships first of trust and caring before we would ever be sexual. It's like, why would you want to have sex with somebody that you're not friends with? That would be very creepy and unloving and weird. And of course, in the conventional world we're in now, we think that, the friend zone means you're not going to ever have sex. And in the tantric world, we're like, why would you have sex with someone you're not friends with? That sounds terrible.
That you don't have some form of a connection with.
Exactly. Where you actually like each other, maybe you're only gonna get together for the one day, but at least you're not gonna diss the other person or be making fun of them or treat them rudely or whatever
Right.
kind of things is considered normal.
It's kind of the very definition of consensual in terms of we want to explore this particular experience together with no strings attached, with, just we are, I don't want to say with pure love, but in that deep connection that you have a friend, you have someone trust, safe. That's what I'm looking for. The
Safe, yeah.
safe environment to have this experience and to experiment.
Exactly. That's well put, and there was a phrase there that I heard that I really incorporated into my books, which was that it's spiritual brothers and sisters helping each other grow.
That's
That's
amazing.
stunning, right? So
Right.
so that was a tantric attitude that I picked up there, and what we were taught was that, tantra has this reputation of being weird and strange sex practices and stuff, and it might be that for some people, but what we were taught was that basically there's 2 worldviews, and everything falls into one or the other. One is the worldview that we grew up in, which is some things are sacred and some things are not, and it's pretty clear that most of the fun things are not
I
sacred.
know. Well, why?
And in Tantra, it's like it's all sacred, all of it, everything that's happening. Everything that's happening, if you can just be in this moment and be with it and be present, you can feel the presence of whatever word you have for it, the divine or the sacred or just that thing. And so when we're behaving tantrically, we're trying to find the sacred in everything. So in everyone that we meet. This is not easy, but it's a practice that we try to work on ourselves to be able to see, oh, something's happening I don't like. Well, what's wrong with me if I don't like it?
Right. Yes.
So that's what I started developing in my first Tantra book, which was Tantric Dating, which is I came back from the ashram and I was a little confused. I was looking for a long term relationship. I was a little bit older than you're supposed to be. And I was like, I don't really get how to date like this anymore after I've been in the Tantra ashram. I got to try to figure this out. So I would try to go on these dates and I would try to think, well, my mind is supposed to be judging this person. He doesn't have the right shoes and he doesn't look right and he doesn't. And I decided that's all a bunch of nonsense. This person is a divine person. I'm probably not gonna end up marrying this person, but how can I sit here and be as loving to this person in this hour that we have together as possible? I wanna see what's wrong with me that I can't see the beauty in this person. So that was my spiritual exercise when I was dating, which is this person is perfect. How am I not seeing that? And I started realizing I thought I was a loving person, but I'm really only a half loving person because I mean, I had friends and I had a cat, and I had I gave money to charity, and I just thought I was a loving person, but I realized my relationships are reflecting that I'm not really as loving as I think I am. If I want to attract a really loving partner, I need to become more a loving person. So I started this thing I called tantric dating, and that was I'm going to try to become more loving in this process of dating instead of I think that conventional dating teaches you to become more judgmental and more judgmental and more judgmental. You make these lists of this is the only kind of person I would love. And this like list is like crazy. At least mine was. Mine had like 55 things on it.
Well, I would 100% agree, especially, as you grow older and maybe we've been married and divorced, or maybe we've had different long-term relationships, or we get to this stage now where we're back in the dating pool, which at this point, it's exactly like you said, it's no longer running through the lists of who will be what we always did. And I agree with you on that type of dating where we'd say, well, who makes a good father? Who looks like he's a good earner? Who's going to protect me? And you start going through the list of, are they this height? Do they have this
Yeah.
color hair? Do they not? I mean, there's definitely something to be said that what attracts you. But I think, and I'm so excited to read your book, that dating should be more of an experience. Like you said, in the moment, am I enjoying my time with this person
Yeah.
without auditioning them? Like,
Exactly.
this isn't an interview that we just pulled them in for, and I
And
agree with you.
yeah, and I had to realize I was attracted to the wrong thing. So we say, "Oh, I can't help my attraction." Yes, you can. If you're still attracted to bad boys like I was, that maybe that needs to change. You know, maybe I
Right.
need to grow that up a little. So that book, Tantric Dating, much to my surprise, I just wrote it and I just thought it was whatever. And then my girlfriend calls me up from Seattle. She said, "Do you know that that book has been named one of the best dating books of all time?" I said, "What? What? I didn't think it was that good." And so yeah, I got that award and from people called Book Authority. And then I thought, well, I'll write a couple more books to go along with that. And I have 4 of these little Tantra books out now. It's called the Tantra Mastery Series. I'm working on the 5th one, and there's going to be 6 in total. So
Oh,
they're
wow.
all like 100 pages or less. You can read them in an afternoon. You
Right.
can
Take
a
you to the
lot of the
pool.
principles. A lot of the principles of Tantra, you don't have to make a big investment to read some big heavy book. It's just a little.
I
So
like that. That's manageable. How would you define tantra? As you and I spoke right before we got on, I'm going to say where I first heard the word tantra or tantric was Sting. And when he came out in his interviews way back, this is dating me, and started talking about tantra sex, and everybody thought, oh, Sting is the king. He goes for like 5 hours. It's tantric sex. And so for most of my life, I thought tantra meant sex. But how would you define tantra?
Well, Tantra includes sex, which it makes it very suspicious to people who think sex is not spiritual. So if you are still of the persuasion that some things are spiritual and some things are not, you don't think that sex is a good thing, then you're going to think Tantra is a weird thing because Tantra says everything is spiritual, including sex. So I'd say about 15% of Tantra is about sex. It's the part that gets the most attention because we're saying sex is a good thing. And you're supposed to say sex is a bad thing, right? You're supposed to think it's kind of naughty and, you're supposed to do it with the lights out and, you know, only if you're married. And, it's all this kind of scared, suspicious kind of attitude. And it's like we say, hey, we love sex. That's somehow very, as you know, you can get a lot of slack for just saying a simple thing like, I like sex. I like to make love. And so Tantra is very sex positive, but it's basically the worldview that we accept everything, we enjoy the pleasures of life. The spirituality I grew up in was you're not supposed to enjoy life too much because you're looking forward to going to heaven.
Right.
And we
Exactly.
say, I don't know if there's a heaven, but I can make heaven on earth.
Oh, well said. I love that. I love that. So when they do hit, so let's talk about that 15% of tantric sex for just a minute. And again, when I was, in the 80s, I thought tantric sex meant, basically taking yoga and sex and mixing together, which I now know has nothing to do with it. But I thought, oh, it's like a book of positions. Like we're going to be like this.
Right, right.
And
Pretzels.
like twister, and probably have to have good stretching and a warm up for this. But it's not anything to do with that, is it?
It can be. Again, we don't want to say maybe some people are doing that, but basically, I would say it's more a combination of mindfulness and sex. So when you're being mindful, you're like right here in the present moment. You're not trying to get anywhere. So you talked about conventional sex being performative, and we're trying to get to the big payoff, which is the orgasm. And in tantric sex, orgasm isn't really the point. We may have
Right.
an orgasm, we may not, but we're interested in let's see how close we can get. Let's see how much pleasure we can have in this moment, not in the future when we come. So
Yeah.
we're just being together. We're massaging, we're stroking, we're stimulating, we're going into a trance maybe. That might last a few hours. It might last 15 minutes, but we're not trying to. We've been trained in this culture that sex means getting the payoff of orgasm. And then I don't know about you, but as a woman, I've really felt this pressure like, oh my God, I got to produce an orgasm. And I don't really not in the mood today, but it's not going to be good unless I'm going to be defective if I don't produce an orgasm or 3 or squirt or whatever. And it's like, Wow, that performance pressure drives you crazy.
You just hit the nail on the head. I think that many women feel is if they don't orgasm, if there isn't a big show, that they're defective and that they didn't please their partner, which is quite. I think that's what one of the biggest things that makes women in general start to turn away as they get older. It is a lot of pressure, and with everything else that's going on in your life, and if we could just get to that place where you say it's more about the connection, sharing that spiritual connection, the experience, just taking the time to explore that doesn't have an end goal. It's bonus points if it does, but it doesn't mean that it's not a pleasurable experience. It could be highly pleasurable.
Oh, well said. I totally agree with that. So you may find yourself, if you're making love tantrically, that you lose all sense of time, and maybe it does go to the 4 hours that Sting was talking about. It's not a goal to have sex for 4 hours, but you may just. I know the first time our husband and I were together, we thought, how long have we been making love? And we didn't actually have intercourse. But how long have we been making love? We thought, oh, maybe 2 hours. And it was four. It's like we had no sense of time. We had
Right.
no sense it had taken that long. So you lose a sense of time because you get into what's called the flow state. And then what this magic thing happens, this will be something that might interest some of your listeners, which is that the bodies start making love by themselves. You're not doing anymore. So we learn all these techniques of how to please a partner, and that's good to learn all those things. But in that moment when you're making love tantrically, it goes away because your body just starts responding and dancing and doing its thing, and that is miraculous, to be lost in the bodies making love by themselves, where you're not doing it anymore. It's a very magical thing, and you really don't wanna go back to conventional lovemaking after you learn about that, after you
No,
experienced it.
no, it's fascinating to be in that moment and your body, and like you said, your body's just reacting.
Yeah,
Just reacting to the stimulus, the experience, the connection, all of it without, having the pressure of I gotta do this and I gotta do this and I gotta be a rock star here. And
yeah. And you also get into this thing with your partner in conventional sex where it's like, he's not really touching me the right way for me to get off. It's not the right kind of thing. And it makes this real anxiety. And that all goes when you're just with the moment and not trying to have the perfect touch so you can get somewhere because you're not trying to get anywhere.
I love that. You're not trying to get anywhere. You're just
Not trying
trying
to
to
get
be.
anywhere. And what this does is it actually, and there's research studies on this. I'm kind of geeked out on this now. I'm reading a lot of research studies. There actual research that this actually increases the feelings of love between people because everything they're doing is right and everything you're doing is right and you're flowing with it. It's kind of like dancing. It's more like dancing than it is a performance.
Would agree. And again, we go back to that word safe because isn't that what it's all about? Especially for a woman, especially if she feels safe, the whole world opens up to her.
Safety is the root of everything. It's the root chakra. It's like if you're not safe, you're not going anywhere else.
Right.
So you
And
think about partners you've been, I think about partners I was with in the past that I just didn't really feel safe with. And you do the performance of sex, but it's not satisfying at all.
no, and we have to define the word safe too. It's not necessarily I'm physically safe from aggression. It's more of I feel safe to express myself without judgment, and I feel safe to communicate my needs. Um,
Exactly, exactly. I feel emotionally safe that you're not going to be making fun of me or you're not going to be looking at this little uh, spare tire I have and judging it. You're just gonna, enjoy being with me, that we're, perfect in our own way. Neither of us is perfect in the conventional way. Neither of us is gonna appear, we're not gonna be, fashion models, but we are perfect lovers in this moment. In this moment, everything's perfect, and we're just enhancing and being loving towards each other physically. And you can get into altered states this way, and you can actually have psychedelic type experiences where you're time traveling or seeing things or having revelations or all kinds of things can happen when you're not focused on orgasm.
psychedelics. So that was we mentioned that in the intro that is something that you've integrated into your practice. Um, is that then are we talking psychedelics in the term of psychedelic drugs or psychedelic experiences mentally
In that
without the aid of anything.
in that sentence, I was talking about psychedelic-like experiences, not taking drugs.
Right.
I just wanna say publicly that these drugs are still illegal. So,
Right.
a lot of
Very
people
much.
call me up and say, "Can you do psychedelic drugs and do therapy with me?" And I'm like, "Well, that's illegal."
Yeah. I can't quite do that if I want to continue practicing.
Exactly. But, I believe in it. I believe it should be legal. What I was
Mhm.
talking about when I said that, if you make love for long periods of time without, focusing on orgasm, and you get into that kind of flow state, psychedelic type of phenomena can happen to you, like you see things or you have, understandings about life or something like that.
And do you think, is this something that in your practice and the counseling that you've done, for marriage, for couples and things of that nature, do you find that it's easy to get couples to open up to these ideas and communicate? Do you think that it takes a lot of work for couples that are coming from a very conventional mindset of their connection, their spirituality together? Um, do you find that it's easy to lead them into sort of this tantra way, I guess is the best way to say it, or do you find it takes a lot of work?
Well, most people that come to me are not super conventional.
This is true.
Kinda weed themselves out. But I do find that most people, the idea of, not of foregoing orgasm is something they don't wanna consider because,
Right.
I mean, orgasm's great, it feels wonderful, and to think that there might be something better than orgasm, it's a little bit I don't ever push it on people, I just say, "You might wanna experiment with this," and usually they don't want to, and that's okay. Whatever rocks people's boat, that's okay, you know? If you're finding that that works for you, great. I do say try it because you will be amazed. But
How
people are like, "Can I look," or even just extend your lovemaking and, orgasm later, just see what that's like. Um, so I think some of the, techniques to, have a more open communication, because if you have better communication, you can have better sex.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
think some of those, people find difficult, but they once they, start practicing, they do find it helpful.
How do you talk to when we talk about this and we talk about orgasm should never be the end goal. Um to really get in and have such a great experience that needs to be put in the back of the mind, and that being in the moment and pleasure is really what it's all about, and that connection. What I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, women, we're the ones that tend to say, if the man doesn't orgasm, we have failed.
Right.
Or if a man is taking a while, we think he's taking a while because
Yeah,
I'm not good enough.
yeah.
Do you have clients that are like that? Do you work with people, or do you have an opinion on that?
Well, sure, I've experienced that in myself, and it is a whole adjustment for both men and women to, uh enjoy sex in a different way than you've enjoyed it before. I think it happens when people start telling themselves the truth that this kind of sex that I've been having for most of my life isn't really as satisfying as I've been taught it's going to be. You know, I've been told that I'm supposed to feel great after orgasm or after making love for 10 minutes. And it's like, how many women are going to sleep at night going, damn, that was just so unsatisfying. The guy's snoring. I don't mean to pick on guys because guys aren't
Right.
Guys aren't taught any better either, but I know that was my experience a lot in my earlier life. And you just start telling yourself the truth that I want something more, and there's quite a few books out that say women would really like a whole lot more foreplay. We don't really call it
Oh.
foreplay in tantra, we call it the main event. We don't think it's before anything.
It should be the main event. Why doesn't anybody understand this?
Well, Tantra understands that, and Tantric men understand that. Tantric men understand that that's the point, and they don't wanna just have their little spurt because that means it's over, and why would you want it to be over? It's the best thing you've ever
It
experienced.
it feels so good. I read that it takes the average woman, it takes 20 minutes of we'll call it the main event now because I like that. 5 minutes of the main event, just to get them to that point. We were just built differently than men, and we need that nice, slow lead up. So that 10-minute, I agree with you. Those 10 minutes, that's not gonna cut it.
Yeah,
Unless I should say this, unless for the fun of it, and this is what you want. You're like, let's have a quickie. It's exciting. It's passionate. That's
sure,
fine. That's fine.
sure, sure. And sometimes you just want to have an orgasm and get it over with. Why not?
Go get a pizza.
But exactly. But see, I think that thing that it takes women 20 minutes to warm up. I think that's a little bit putting down women because I think it takes men 20 minutes to warm up to get into their hearts.
Okay,
I think men
I
can
agree.
get an erection and come and so what? That's not a great thing. You know, it takes men 20 minutes to bring their energy up from their penises into their hearts and go, "Oh, I want to make love. I don't want to just get off.
Right,
Here you are. I'm not just being driven by sex. I'm being driven by connection."
right.
So
That
I
is
think women need it to get into for their sex to open up, and men need it to that 20 minutes at least to get their hearts opened. Because men
I
are
know.
not taught in the culture to open their hearts during sex, and tantra is all about opening your heart during sex.
I've never thought about it from the male perspective, or the male side of it, but that makes a lot of sense. Have you ever had a lover really look in your eyes for what feels like eternity, and you feel like they understand you, they want you, they desire you? That's amazing. But
That's pure
you
tantra.
don't that right there, I would say, if men understood that little key. And I really wish, I think these younger generations are starting to open up more to this way, or that it's not the way we were taught or the way we grew up, and the shame and things around it. But if tantra and um this concept of sex being a connection with, it isn't just, okay, two people had an orgasm, great, or one had an orgasm. If it's this, that it is a connection, would and then to tie that back into dating, I could see now where, like, if you do, I had a guest on that did 100 first dates. That was she went on 100 first dates till she met her husband. And I should have asked her, and I didn't, because I didn't know enough yet when we were doing that podcast. I should have asked, did you go to on each date with the list? Or did you go on each date just to learn about that human, and and just see, like, did you fit in a connection versus a checklist of likes and don't likes?
Yeah. Yeah, what I like to tell people is I have the perfect husband now, but I would have disqualified him. If I had had my list, I would have disqualified him because he smoked occasionally. He doesn't smoke now, but he smoked occasionally, and I would have seen that on the app, and I would have gone, "No." So I wouldn't have met this wonderful human being who's my perfect soulmate. I would have just my checklist would have had me disqualify him. So, you have to really wonder if that's the right way to go about it because it was an energy frequency that we had that, was so compelling.
How do you feel about people that are, well, just like you're saying? Now, yours was just thing on your checklist, but people that, out and about in society would look and say, "Oh, they're mismatched." Whether it's age, whether it's height, whether it's money, whether it's what they look like. One's the version of super attractive and one's average, but they have a connection that no one can understand. And I feel like that might be a lot of what you're talking about, the energy frequency, and to the average person, they cannot understand how these two, how did these two people get together, or why do they look so loving? Um, but I feel maybe it's that energy and that connection that just can't be seen in the outside.
Definitely, you can never tell from the outside what's going on in a relationship. You can't tell. And, there's some psychological studies that say that we attract the person who's where we're at in the same in emotional development. So that doesn't always show on the outside.
Right.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's an interesting way to look at it. I think we get together with people for learning, for spiritual growth. And that's why some relationships don't last because we come together, we learn what we're supposed to learn, and we move on. I had to have a couple of relationships, couple of marriages that didn't work out for me to become a more loving person. Like a lot of your listeners, my family that I grew up in, I didn't really learn much about love there. And I had to
Mm,
learn it. I had to
mm.
learn it on my own and make a bunch of mistakes. And those relationships got me more and more prepared to be able to have a really good relationship.
So looking ahead, what do you see? What excites you most about the future of tantra in the West, in the Western culture? Because we are just scratching the surface over here.
Well, I think it's great that sexuality is more a part of our conversation today and that there's more alternatives now are being accepted. Before there was only one way to have sex, and that was straight people who were married in the dark and so on. And now it's like I think it's really opened up that we see that there's many ways to love and many ways to express your sexuality. Um, there's different phases in your life where you may do one thing or another or like something more. Tantra may turn out to be something that's people mature into. It might be a more mature kind of love. So maybe when you're young, you like that more flash and dazzle kind of sex. And when you get older,
Right.
you're more like, hey, I'd rather hang out here. I'd rather hang out for a while than just go for this fireworks and get the fireworks in a different way. I am a little concerned about the effects of porn on men because I
Yes.
think men are loving, caring beings. Most men are really loving, caring beings, but they're being taught by porn that they're not. They're
Right.
being taught that sex is a mechanical thing, that they should just focus on the orgasm and come off. So I'm hoping there's going to be um, some help for men to reclaim their loving, caring natures. I know I've met some young men lately that have really restored my faith because they're not buying into that stuff at all. They're proud to be loving, caring beings. So, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I agree with you. And I'm a mother of three 20-year-old,
Mm.
21 and 26-year-old men. I got to call them men now. They'd be disappointed if I called them boys. Um, but I would agree. I think the real definition of masculinity is a male that has those qualities that are inherent. They're in their biology to care for their mate, whoever their partner or mate is, um, care for them, keep them safe, provide for them, and I don't mean that in a financial way. I mean that in an emotional way that they provide, and this safe environment. That is the true definition, in my opinion, of masculinity, not, "Oh, you look like, Johnny X, the porn star, and you can get in there and you can just all the things in bed and outside of bed. You
Totally.
gotta."
Lately I've been watching these videos on Instagram of these birds. A lot of birds mate for life.
Right.
And and these father birds, like penguins and stuff, that are holding the eggs and really caring for the young, and it's like, wow, that's if birds
It
can do
is.
it, it's beautiful.
I think, it again, if and I think it's just what society, technology has given to men. I think I don't fault men for this. I do hope that there's a renaissance in masculinity, and I think also women, if we could do more in the tantric sort of style, if you will. I think what happens now is we have men who are, their definition of connection, love, so forth is guided highly by porn. The younger men, in I shouldn't say younger, it could be any age range. And then because of that, and they go in and they think their only job is that, we as women then take over as technically the leaders. And we women are too far into our masculine energy right now. And we need those men to start stepping up and bringing us back into our feminine energy. And I think everything that you're talking about is the foundation of how that can happen.
Well, in Tantra, women are the teachers. And I think that on an individual basis, this means when you're making love, it's like, let's slow down. I love what you're doing. Let's not hurry to get to the ending. Let's do this for a while longer. Oh, let me just rub your back. Oh, let me just massage you for an hour and a half. We're going to get there. Men get very anxious if they think that you're not going to actually have intercourse, but you can let them know we're going to have intercourse later on, but let's do this now. Or let's have intercourse for a while. Let's stop that and do something else and come back to it. And let's make this an all day affair.
Okay.
Women can be more leaders in the sense of let's have sex in the way I like instead of me just doing it the way you like or you think you like. Let me turn you on to something that you might like even better.
Yeah, so empowering women
Yeah.
to lead.
So porn hasn't taught you this? Let me teach you what's really
Yeah.
good.
Let me do what we do best as women. Let me nurture you, nurture this connection. I won't even say relationship because, like you said, it could be a one-time thing. It could
Yeah.
be friends. Well, Catherine, I could talk to you for hours.
It's fun,
And
right?
we stayed in one subject, but I was, like, fascinated by it, and there's so much more to you, and you have a practice, and, so if you could tell us, first of all, what website where can people go to learn more about you, on a website and your counseling and things like that nature?
Sure. My name right there, KatherineAuman.com. And that's where I am on Instagram, Facebook, and I have a lot of YouTube videos that give you
Oh,
little bites about Tantra this and Tantra that. So please make use of that.
do you practice virtually or only, in California?
Actually, since the pandemic, only virtually. So I
Perfect, and
work
so
with
you could
people
do all 50s?
all
All
over the
50s?
United States. Sometimes I'll do a session with someone in Europe too. So whatever.
Oh, that's fabulous. And then your books, can we get them in most bookstores? Are they specialty bookstores?
They're mostly in Amazon.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, anything else that you'd like to tell us about, promote, big news announcements?
We're gonna talk tonight if anybody wants to come. No, I'm just kidding. It's just been great, Kelly. I love the work you're doing. Thanks for having me on.
I so appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your day and explaining a topic that I think is incredibly fascinating and very misunderstood. And I'm I'm gonna read your book because I'm super excited. Now the Mastery series, 100 pages, I can bust one of those out in no time.
All right. I hope you enjoy.
All right. Well, thank you, Catherine. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.